how to prepare, yeah, how to tell what stocks are going to run, how to find stocks, all that good stuff. Um, just how to make money, right? So we want to go over first. We can do, um, I guess we can start with the just
Well,
like the
for
site and everything, or
yeah.
some.
First things first. The opening bell starts at 9:30. That doesn't mean get up like 9:25 and
Right.
start trading, because that's not gonna work out for you. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you guys need to be up. How early you get up is dependent on how much research you want to do, right? I mean, there's some days I'm up at 6. Other days I get up at maybe 8:45. Um, it's up to you guys. I recommend if you're just starting out, you want to give yourself at least like a good 45 minutes in the morning. Just get situated. Make your breakfast, get your coffee, all that good stuff. You need to have a clear mind. You got to be able to think clearly. Hopefully you guys have all charted the night before, right? And when I mean chart, just even look at some quick things like you might see a ticker has a bull flag, or just refresh your mind. Like you don't have to spend hours and hours on this, right? Just look for anything that just write out your ideas, set your levels. Just keep an eye on the stocks, see when everything's close to a level that you've been looking at for a while, and you know, yeah, it's as simple as that. So Um, I guess we can just start with the first thing we look at, right? So the very, very first thing we look at in the morning is going to be futures, right? So you guys should all know by now that we look at ES for the S&P 500 futures. Right now they have gapped up, right? Likely due to vaccine news. So um, that's just things you want to look for, right? Any gap ups in futures usually means it's very good news, and any gap downs, futures rarely gap down, but if you do see that, it's likely just like really bad news, like when Trump got COVID, or election stuff, or you know, bad Chinese news, delisting companies, any of that stuff. You might look for a gap down in futures, right? So the reason we don't really care about futures now is because not much has happened, right? I mean, we do, we still have another 12, 13 hours before the market opens, but um, there isn't really much right now, right? There's nothing right now that gives me any indication of how we're going to open tomorrow. I mean, I can assume that we're going to open green, just because we have vaccine news, but green futures at night doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have green futures in the morning, right? So you want to check it right before just to get a general sense of the market direction, right? You guys want to kind of check the individual futures as well, right? So even though the most common one to check is ES, you guys also want to check the Dow, which is YM, right? And NQ. Yeah, this is YM. This is the Dow futures. So companies like Pfizer, Disney, the Dow should be pretty good today because most of the Dow stocks actually benefit from having a vaccine and having things go back to pre-COVID um, levels, right? So this is the Dow. Guys, take notes, right? ES is the S&P 500. YM is the Dow.
I have
And
all
then
of
of
these right
course,
here. Like
yeah.
I line them
Okay,
up so you guys can see.
gotcha. Yeah, so you guys can. I mean, it'll be in the video as well. But NQ is gonna be tech. Um, you know, NQ is another good one to watch. If you guys check right now, tech is actually the weakest, and usually tech tends to be the strongest. So that means that if you guys are holding any tech calls, there's a good chance they might not print as much as you might have hoped. Um, but we'll see. Only time will tell, right? Usually, however, futures tend to open, they tend to stay that way and open, meaning that if tech is the weakest and the Dow is the strongest, then that will usually correlate for the next day. That is one correlation I've found between futures opening time and market open. But again, in the morning, you just want to get a sense of where these futures are, right? So if you guys are trading Facebook, for example, and tech is red, and you have calls, even though Facebook bounced off support, in the morning, if futures are red, there's a pretty good chance that Facebook might just hold support and not run that much, right? Um, and if you're at resistance, the RSI isn't crazily high, and futures are bright green, if Facebook hasn't gapped up too much in the morning, you actually might just break out in the morning, right? So things like that you want to look for, just to kind of get a better sense of how to trade in the morning, right? As you guys know, those first 30 minutes are very, very important. A lot of fast things happen, lots of volume. People are making irrational decisions. But if you guys prepare, you guys can be ahead of the crowd, right? RTY is going to be the Russell. Those are the small cap companies. I don't really look at this much. I don't look at that very often. I really don't check anything else. I'll look at gold occasionally, but CF is the crude oil futures. But the other ones I don't really look at that much, right?
Yeah, VX is basically volatility.
Yeah, you guys want to look at VIX as well, right? So if you see SPY and VIX rising together, you might want to take the day off or just try and come back in the afternoon for swings, right? When SPY and VIX rise together, that's usually bad news. So, SPY and VIX are usually inverse of each other. All right. Another thing you guys want to check is, I do this on Webull, but there's other sites you can look at. You guys want to look at the Asian markets and the European markets. I find that the Asian and Indian, I guess the Chinese and Indian markets have, they are better indicators of how the market might open, and they have a greater impact on futures, in my opinion. As you guys may or may not know, the European markets haven't really fully recovered yet since COVID. But the Asian markets and our markets have. So usually the performance or the volatility of those Asian markets will serve as a pretty good indication of how our markets might perform. Again, not always, but it's just something to keep in the back of your head, right? I never look at the Australian markets. There's no reason for that. I just haven't really had an interest. If you guys look at the Australian markets, you guys can let me know if you see any good correlations. Something else you guys might want to check is the dollar, right? So if the dollar is weaker, that usually means stocks might go up because that means inflation is increasing. That's not necessarily a good thing long term for the economy. But that can be a good short term indicator, right? A weaker dollar is a stronger short term market. What else do we have to look at? Are you guys following so far?
I'm trying to pull up my chat, but I can't find it.
Zoom chat?
Yes.
Yeah. I'll look at it too. Cold weather sucks. Yes, it does.
Yo, Casa, how do you put those Fibonacci lines on Thinkorswim?
Here?
That's that one? Yeah, the percent one, right?
You middle click the retracement can do both. It can do extension and retracement at the same time. The way TOS calculated it is they have it two ways. You can either do extension using retracements too, or using extensions alone. There's multiple ways to do it.
Yeah. All right, let's stay on topic for now. We can definitely go back to fib lines later. All right, you guys following the pre-market setup so far? So right now we're just looking at futures, look at the foreign markets, look at the currency, look at the dollar, right? Look at the strength of the dollar, look at VIX. You guys following? All right, no one's saying anything, so I'm going to assume it's a yes.
I'm writing this shit down.
Good stuff. All right, next thing you want to look at, you guys can just, type in the actual indexes, right? So you guys type in SPY. You guys can look at the DIA for the Dow. And you guys can also check IXIC for the NASDAQ. The reason we look at these, you guys can just check the 4-hour charts or the daily charts. You guys know your candlestick patterns, right? It's probably not working I'm not sure what it is for TOS, a ticker. But it's probably just NASDAQ, honestly. Yeah, whatever it is. The point is you guys want to check out the candlestick patterns, right? So for example, we ended with a bullish, is that true? Yeah, we ended with a bullish engulfing candle on the 4-hour, right? That is a bullish candle. So, so far so good, right? SPY did gap up as well. So things look pretty good. The TTM looks pretty good as well. MACD is crossing. We're, the strong buy signal. We're back in bull territory for now. Even though we do have the extended hours on, it still looks pretty good. So I'm just having you guys check the candlestick patterns because, unless there's any significant news, I know we have vaccine news, but vaccine news or not, if we end on a bullish engulfing, there's a pretty good chance we're at least going to open the next candle green and start running for the day. And then depending on which index you're looking at, you can kind of get a sense of how that will affect your individual holdings, right? So, if I'm playing Disney, I probably don't care too much about SPY, but if I'm playing like the Dow, if I'm playing like, Apple or Facebook, I'm more interested in how tech closed and how the SPY closed. So I'm checking that as well. Looks a little weaker on the daily, but again, we should get a nice pump of vaccine news. We can get some rejection at that 370 level, potentially, even 368. We can save that for charting. All right. Another thing you guys want to look at, there's a couple sites that we look at in the morning to kind of get a sense of what's going on. So one of my favorites is FinViz, right? As you guys see on the screen. So FinViz has two sections. We have the news and the blog section. Very simple. Just look at you guys can just look right here at the news. I don't really read the blog section because that's more subjective opinions. Those are like individual authors. But the news section is very quick, right? You don't even have to click on any of these. If you guys do want to see the source, be my guest and click on them. But I just scroll through it. I might spend a total of 2 minutes on this just to get a sense of what's happening, right? When job numbers come out, you'll see it show up here. You'll see what's coming. If you guys want to see what to look forward to, if you guys don't want to look through everything like the economic calendar or whatever, just scroll through this. Also scroll all the way down. Look at the stuff that happens, early in the morning as well, because you're going to get some more Chinese news, Japanese news, any random acquisitions, anything that might have any impact, talks of war, any nuclear plant testing, anything like that, right? Just look at that stuff, right? You might see some things things about Bitcoin might pop up there, anything about Chinese EV manufacturing that can affect things like NEO. So you guys want to look at that, right? FinViz also offers charting. So you guys see right here. I don't use it that much, but if you guys scroll down, you will see some quick news on the stock as well, as well as upgrades, downgrades, right? You guys say you can't find news. It's all here, right? It's all public. It's very easy to find. It's pretty quick. There really isn't any need.
Yeah, like if you're playing Roku tomorrow, so you just come through the site and just type in Roku and look at any news in the morning and then see any upgrades, downgrades, and then you go from there.
Yep, it's all there. It's all public info, guys. Just gotta put like maybe 5 minutes of work in. Once you guys have like a short list of tickets you're watching, you guys can just look at this quickly for a couple stocks. If you don't see anything interesting, just move on, right? Anything that's important, you're probably gonna see it. Just gotta know where to look. That's pretty much it. Actually, go back to FinViz for a second. I want to show you guys a couple more things. Because a lot of people ask me questions about how to find stocks. They don't know exactly where to look or what to do. So check your screener. One thing that I use a lot is a screener. If you go over to where it says technical in those top tabs, you guys can play around with this. I'm not going to spend all day on this, but you guys can just you see the bar where it says descriptive, fundamental, technical. Yeah, right there. So if you guys just go there, you guys can put in anything you want, right? You can go to candlestick on the far right. You can literally just type in hammer or just select hammer, dragonfly, doji, right? And right here, you just have all the companies that ended the day on a doji or a hammer or whatever, right? You guys can also go to pattern. You guys can find rising wedge, all that kind of stuff. Descending triangle, all these patterns we discussed in the class, right? You guys can, it's all there. Actually, I think I just got a notification about NEO selling. Oh no, NEO's sorry, this is a bit irrelevant, but the price is $39. For those of you who are wondering what the 60 million share offering price is, that is $39. It just came in. All right. So anyway, if you guys look at this, you guys can just find, any patterns you're looking for, right? So
Yeah, you can even do about percent change or market cap.
yeah, there's so many filters here. I encourage you guys to just play around with these filters. It's all free. It's very accurate. If you guys type in descending wedge and then you pull up a daily chart on TradingView or TOS or even on FinViz, you're gonna see a descending wedge, right? They have done all the calculations and coding for you, so it's pretty easy to find stocks, right? One more thing you guys can check. I'm not gonna spend more than 2 minutes on this, but you guys can go to Insider, right? Sit there in the tab next to portfolio, Insider Futures, like above that.
I'm blind. Hold
Yeah,
on.
no, which is screener. Yeah, that right. Insider. Yeah, I don't have a pencil right now. So you guys can check there, right? You'll see a lot of mostly small tickers, pharmaceutical companies around here, but basically you guys can just scroll through this, just like if you guys see any tickers you guys are playing, pay attention, right? You guys can probably click on some of them to see the actual nature of the transaction, or just SEC form. If you want to look at an example, you guys can just check what's happening. Carvana selling shares, for example. It's a lot. That's a lot of money. That's almost $12 million, $13 million in shares he's selling right there. So you guys, that could be an indicator. That's probably the end of a trend. I mean, again, take all this information lightly. These guys have tens of millions of dollars. They might just be taking out some money to put it into something else or to pay themselves, right? So take all this with a grain of salt. Walmart is showing up a lot of Walmart sales, right? Walton, Alice Walton. That's a lot of selling, right? So that's a bit more significant because right there I see at least 9 sell orders. But yeah, again, just scroll through these tabs, guys. I encourage you to use a screener. I encourage you guys to just look at, all these features on FinViz, right? Again, I don't really use most of them, but I do check the screener sometimes. I will occasionally look at insider buying, but mainly in the morning because this class is about pre-market setup. I'm really just checking for news and sometimes the screener for the patterns. That's about it. So again, always information's all there. Upgrades and downgrades are another big one. So, all right, you guys following?
Yep.
Good stuff. All right. You can explain bar chart if you want to. I mean, this is basically just a site that shows option flow after the fact. So if you guys don't have flow algo, that's fine. I mean, this is not really real time. This is delayed by 15 minutes. But obviously we don't have time to go through every single stock. But these are gonna be like the last trades as of like 15 minutes before the bell. So here you go. Right. You guys can just scroll through it. It has all the you guys can sort it by symbol, price, obviously, strike. I mean, the table right there. One thing I want you guys to note is that if you guys are looking right now, you guys see how some numbers are red, some are green, and some are black, right? So if you see red, it means that, hold on a second. Yeah, if you guys see red numbers, it means that this option was purchased below the bid or the option was sold, right? So obviously the first one is going to be bullish because if you sell a put, that is bullish, right? You can't just look at put and think that they're betting for it to go down, right? If you're selling a put, that's a bullish position, right? And conversely, if you're selling a call, that's a bearish position. So any green puts are bearish, any red puts are bullish, right? And vice versa. Red calls are bearish and green calls are calls purchased at or above the ask, which is very bullish, right? So that, for example, SLDB, I'm going to pay attention to that just because the implied volatility is very high. I don't know why. So right off the bat, I think they either have earnings or they have a new drug coming out. I don't know anything about it, but let's see. SLDB, I think it was. Biosciences. Okay, so they probably have a new drug coming out. They just gapped up. They're about to pass pre-market high. I mean, all-time highs, at least from the chart I saw. That's all I know about the stock, right? Never heard of it before, but a lot of call contracts are going in. Again, that option flow could have been from before, but I don't know. You guys have to then go and check your contracts. I mean, we're not going to do it now. You guys can look at the open interest on Monday, see how it opens up, see if it's something you want to play. I personally hate farm, but that's just something to look at. Yeah, implied volatility will show you things that have. If you have high implied volatility, you're mostly going to get these pharmaceutical companies. All of these tickers either have huge events coming up in the near future, or are pharmaceutical companies. Yeah, a lot of space. Yeah, space options. AMC. Yeah, the black numbers, guys, I didn't mention, they're usually neutral. So if you guys see like a bunch of calls, and you see like a bunch of green numbers and black numbers, it's probably going to be very, very bullish. That's a bullish position right there. High implied volatility.
That looks good.
Yeah. And obviously, the more tickers you see, if you see like one ticker with all calls, right, for January, I mean, you might want to follow it after doing some more research, right? I mean, if all of the calls show the same position, then there might be a good reason to get in. I don't like bar chart for earnings usually. I find that's not very accurate. All right. No, I said that puts in red are bullish and calls in green are bullish, right? Because if a green number means you're buying at or above the ask, right? So if you buy a call at the ask, that's a bullish position because you expect the equity to go up, right? If you're selling a call, which would make the number red, that means you are expecting the position to go down because you don't want the person who you sold it to profit off of it, right? And for puts, it's the opposite. Yes, a put in red is bullish, all right? And a call in red is bearish, and vice versa. All you guys need to remember is that green means at or above the ask, and red means at or below the bid. If you guys know what bid and ask means, which you guys should all know by now, then you won't forget it. All right, good stuff. All right, the last metric I look at before I get off bar chart is going to be volume over open interest, right? So obviously the higher, you just click on the tab right there. The vol over OI. Yeah. Yeah, so obviously the higher the number that is, the more you want to pay attention, right? So many times for earnings, you guys might see like 4 tickers. I mean, you might see like the same ticker like 4 or 5 times, and they all have bullish positions. But then you might see one of them that is like the outlier. So let's just pretend that Disney had all bullish positions right now, and then we had the put right there. Let's say it was bearish, for example, just an example, right? And it had a very, very high volume over open interest. You actually might want to just stay away or pay attention to that one, right? Because if you have a high volume over open interest, it means that many, many of these contracts were traded. So that means one person is trying to scoop a lot of them up, but not a lot of people are holding them, right? Only like a couple accounts are holding them. So that means that usually someone knows something, right? Usually the higher the volume over OI, the more unusual the order. And this is usually what, and, a big move is usually going to happen in that direction, right? Insiders usually are right because they know non-public information. So there isn't really like a good volume over OI number. I don't want to say anything over 50 or anything over 100 necessarily, but the higher the volume over OI, generally the more you want to pay attention to it, right? So that's just something else I look at. Yeah, so I only really look at it if you have like a bunch of tickers showing one direction and then you have one of them showing a different direction, which a much higher volume over open interest. Outside of that, this is just going to be a guide. It just shows option flow. Just shows you what people are thinking. You know, again, these are not always going to be right. These can be hedges, be part of a butterfly spread. Again, you don't really know, but it's just good to kind of tell where people are kind of putting their money. Just another tool for you guys to look at. This site does have other features, but I don't look at any of them. So that's just me. And I don't think Casa does either. So
I barely look at it.
yeah. All right. What's next? So we went over futures. We went over FinViz bar chart. How to use a screener in 5 stocks. Went over all that kind of stuff.
Betting your pre-market level. That's the next thing.
Yeah. So next part of this lesson is going to be how to tell if things might run at the bell or dump at the bell, right? So actually, do you want to restart with Zoom?
Yeah,
It might take
yeah.
about 15 minutes.
Okay.
Yes, we started. We're going to send a link again, guys, and we'll just continue.